Groups. Matthew chapter 14, 15. I'm David. This is Dan. I'm just along for the ride. Dan, what do we got?
Well, we're in week 8 of 14 in This is Jesus, where we are together going through Matthew's gospel. Matthew is an amazing person to focus on because, one, he was an eyewitness to Jesus. I never want us to forget that. And from being an eyewitness, he became a follower of Jesus all the days of his life. And David, in Matthew's gospel, Matthew repeats over and over again, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, 29 times for those of you who like to count. That's significant. And what does he really mean by that? Well, most scholars think that really what Matthew is saying is, pay attention. In my gospel, you're going to see what it looks like when God is in charge. And it turns out it's a little counterintuitive, upside down. A couple weeks ago, we discovered in Matthew's gospel that there were unexpected people in the gospel. Outsiders, untouchables,
Enemies.
Gentiles, enemies showing up in the gospel. Last week, Jesus taught in parables, and the parables, David, were incredibly unexpected. Mustard seeds, joyful seed flingers sowing seeds.
That is how I garden.
Yeah, that's how you do it. But sowing them on hard, rocky soils where there are thorns. Interesting, unexpected parables. This week, Jesus performs miracles, and we're going to be spending time in our groups together, especially those of us who like to take notes at our weekend gatherings, on a couple of miracles that we're going to discuss in a little more detail in a minute. Those miracles will be feeding the 5,000, walking on water, and an intriguing miracle that you might not have thought was a miracle, a Gentile Canaanite woman. We'll get there in a minute. But David, also in chapters 14 and 15, where we are this week, we have a story about John the Baptist.
Yes. So you've been wondering where John the Baptist is. I know you're sitting there going, where's John the Baptist been? And what happened? Well, there's a fun story in 14, 1 through 12, where Herod gets for his wife a present.
Who doesn't like a present?
Yes. And the present is his enemy is put into jail. And then there's this moment where it's Herod's birthday, and as a present for Herod, his daughter dances for him at his birthday party. And Herod is so impressed that he then offers another present. This is just a gift exchange, right, Elephant? I don't know what you like to give. I don't know what you bring home or what your kids ask for. But Herod's kid asks for John's head on a platter. Good parenting.
Great parenting.
That's all I got. That's Herod right there. You can't read past that and just skip past it. Just a strange moment. Not everything has to make sense.
It doesn't have to make sense. You're going to discover in chapter 14 and 15 so many stories like that. Actually, as a Bible nerd sidebar, I know we've been suggesting that for fun, have someone in the group read chapter 14 and 15 from the Message, which is a paraphrase. It's interesting to hear the voice of Jesus, because Jesus is speaking loudly in both of these chapters. Interesting to hear a paraphrase from Eugene Peterson on the voice of Jesus, because often we can hear the voice of Jesus differently than how Eugene Peterson imagines it. So it's well worth your time. By the way, just as a Bible nerd moment, a paraphrase is not the same as a translation.
Correct.
A translation has all manner of scholars who've gotten together, taken the time to go back to the original languages, and they have thought it out together. In fact, if you have a Bible, you can go to the front of your Bible and you'll see a section in every single Bible you have. There'll be a little section in very, very small print, good luck, discussing who the scholars were, what their biases were, what their perspectives were to come up with a translation. So a translation is from the original languages. A paraphrase is, in this case, Eugene Peterson, a skillful scholar, but on his own as a pastoral moment, in Eugene's imagined voice for Jesus, coming up with some amazing perspectives. So all of that to say, use the Message in your group this week. For those of you that are going to continue to follow the messages that are happening on the weekend, you're going to discover, as we said earlier, that the communicators are going to focus on 3 miracles: feeding of the 5,000, walking on water, and depending on your perspective, a Canaanite woman or a Gentile woman. And what your communicators at your campus are going to focus on are the limitations, how God himself limited himself coming in human form, Jesus among us. And the question will be, really, How does God go beyond our own personal limitations? So we're not going to give it away, but you're going to discover for all three of those miracles, and you will want to unpack this in your group, there is your part in the miracle happening, and you'll see that in the feeding of the 5,000. There was our part, and then there's only what God can do in the walking on the water. Peter had a part to play. Fascinating story, David. And then God had a part to play. You will choose questions that you want to answer. But David, one of the questions, and I don't know how to say this without it sounding, I don't want this to sound impolite, but the Canaanite woman, that story in chapter 15, one of the questions that you might be thinking in your head and you might be willing to say out loud is Jesus being a jerk with this Canaanite woman? Now, filter that any way you want in your groups, but I look forward to you discussing what is going on in that story. Why is Jesus so unresponsive to her needs? And why is she so persistent in her needs as well? Walking on water. David, can you see anything in that story that you think would be a good question for the groups?
Yeah, I think, what does this story reveal about Jesus?
Yep.
What does it reveal about Peter?
Oh, that's good.
And what would you do in this moment? And is there a reality between your faith and actually the physicality of what God's doing here?
Good, good. In the feeding of the 5,000, incredible story. Many of us who were raised in the church were so familiar with the story, it's not scandalous to us anymore. Why did they even come up with 5 loaves and 2 fishes? Why did they even think, why would you even present that to Jesus with 5,000 men being present? So there's a lot of questions, a lot of angles you can go. We hope you have a great week with this message. We enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
So this is David and Dan saying have a great week.